Greetings, my fellow beings of varied sentience. How are you doing today? Well, I hope. This is Papatron, the concerned alien parent, the one and the only. Unless we're talking about some sort of a multiverse theory. There can only be one. Anyway, today's video is not exactly something I planned to do. I didn't quite plan to be talking about freedom of speech, but I decided to do it anyway for a number of reasons. For one, it is an extremely important and revolutionary concept. It is the equivalent of discovery of penicillin and antibiotics important. It is the invention of the plumbing system important. It is the invention of the internet revolutionary. It is one of the concepts upon which Western societies depend on for their very existence. Secondly, I have quite a bit of experience with this topic as I bore personal witness as to what happens when it gets damaged, blocked, or controlled. And lastly, I recently spent a lot of time debating with myself on this. The benefits, the downsides, how to maximize its potential. I ended up doing a lot of research into this. By no means am I the best person to speak about it, but I figured that if there is anyone out there watching my videos and is wondering what the fuss is all about, or why it is even such a big issue, I'm hoping this video will help nudge you in the right direction. Without further ado, I shall now commence the do. So what exactly is the freedom of speech? Basically, freedom of speech is the ability of any individual or group to express their opinions and say whatever they want to say without restrictions, repercussions, or legal action. Let's take a look at this at the most basic level. Can you say chicken nuggets? Just go out there on the street and say chicken nuggets. Can you do that? Yes. You can say a whole bunch of stuff, even if it's nonsense. Bears fly south to eat dollar store cereal. Lamps help the sun people spy on us. Furniture is secretly alive and positions itself to maximize damage to our toes. You can say all that, but that's not what freedom of speech is for or it's about. There are essentially two absolutely crucial things that it enables us to do that are fundamental to the function of Western civilization. For one, criticism. I spoke about criticism here and there in my videos, but this is where it hits home run. When a politician or some prominent figure or a government or a company or a group does something, anything, they say something, they pass a bill, they organize an event, they participate in some event, how they behave, decisions they make, whatever it is, this is one of the most crucial points of freedom of speech. We can criticize them. Remember, criticism is how we get better. It is how we improve. Giving someone criticism is essentially giving them the opportunity to improve. That is especially imperative when it comes down to politicians, political entities, the people that are supposed to represent us and run the government. As a citizen, we're supposed to do everything we can to hold those we choose to represent us responsible and give them feedback. If we want a better system, a better program, better laws, better anything, this is where it starts. This is how we get process going, this is how we keep people accountable. I imagine some of you are wondering, well, why bother? Or do not quite understand the importance of this. So I will get into that right now. We didn't just come up with such complex and intricate governments and systems out of nowhere. It took us hundreds and thousands of years of trial and error, effort, brainpower to come up with the very concepts we enjoy today, like welfare, healthcare, due process, so on and so forth. How did we get better? We took what we had, we looked at it, critically analyzed it, or some part of it, and introduced some changes. Little by little, over time, we came to have capitalism, republics, democracy, so on and so forth. We wanted to improve, so we applied critical thinking and tried to make things better. The critical thinking I speak of translates into criticism when we speak. And that is precisely why you should care if you want a better government. You can't do it without being able to criticize. In the Western countries, we generally speaking have freedom of speech. So how is this an issue exactly? For quite some time now, it has been under attack. There's unfortunately a good number of people and groups that want to restrict our ability to speak out in any way they possibly can. Before I start getting into my examples, I want to go over the second point as to why this is such a huge deal, because all of it ties in. Freedom of speech has a second function. It gives us the ability to expose corruption. Now, it does tie directly to the criticism, but this sort of investigation and exposure of corruption sort of belongs as a second point, because anybody can criticize. You don't need to go out there really and look for stuff. If a politician makes some sort of a decision or says something, anybody can criticize them. But when it comes down to exposing corruption, you actually need the resources. You actually need to have proof, which is why I'm putting in a bit of a different category. You may have heard stories about how investigative journalists go missing after digging up some dirt on some prominent figure or group. You can find plenty of stories online. Exposing this corruption is also crucial, because then we get to see the people we ended up electing for who they really are, remove them from the government, and have them face justice. They are supposed to serve us, not the way around. We are not pawns to be sacrificed. We're not a bunch of wallets. We're not to be taken advantage of. We are individuals. We have hopes, dreams, wants, desires. We want to be successful, lead good lives, see our loved ones succeed. You absolutely should care, if it not for others, then for yourself, not to end up on the streets, alone, forgotten, with no future, and reduced to nothing because of someone's greed and lack of morals, at the mercy of their whims. The government should always fear its people. Without the freedom of speech, that would not be nearly as possible. That sure is a lot of information to process. So let's take a short break. We'll be back right after these messages. It's the morning. You just woke up and you have to roll for initiative. That first roll will determine how the rest of your day goes. Do you keep failing the rolls every day? How many times did it feel like you rolled a 1? Well, no more. With D20 coffee, you don't need to worry. It will be like you rolled a 20 every time, every day. The people behind this product proudly stand for maximum quality and guaranteed satisfaction, while bringing you great variety at affordable prices. No matter what bean it is, or how you want it, you can rest assured it will be done to the highest standards and handled with the greatest of care. All you have to do is go to the shop section, select your desired brew, indicate whether you want whole bean or ground, and your quantity. Before you know it, you'll have a new fantastic way to improve your day. Be sure to check out their Facebook and Instagram pages. They love memes, and so do we. Don't forget to join their mailing list to get the latest scoops on upcoming sales, hottest coffee trends, and new arrivals. But wait, there's more! Apply the coupon code Papatron, and not only will you get a discount, you will also help support my channel. And remember, if it is not from D20 Brewers, it might as well be in the sewers. That's www.d20brewers.com. 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 And welcome back. Before I finally get to my examples to reinforce what I was talking about, there are two misunderstandings that I need to go over because I end up running into them one too many times. First, I can summarize in a quote: if someone says something, I should be able to respond. It is a rather silly misconception because freedom of speech allows you to respond. The entire point is that you can speak out and say what you want. Nobody should be restricting or blocking you from saying what you want to say. That's literally the whole point. This is exactly why there are so many people fighting against some of the biggest social media platforms out there, as they're trying to silence those who they do not agree with. You can say whatever you want. You have the ability. You should have the ability. Whether you should actually say it is a whole different story. The second misconception is rather perplexing to me. I don't think that it should even exist, but there it is. Freedom of speech allows you to say what you want. It doesn't guarantee you an audience. And this goes both ways. For someone who is speaking and for the people who might be listening, you can say a whole bunch of stuff, but if you do not have anyone listening, then it's not by any means anyone or anything attacking your freedom of speech. It only means that you have nothing interesting and captivating to say. In other words, you're boring. That is entirely on you. And as for the audience, is the exact reverse. You don't have to listen to anything anyone says. You don't have to go on YouTube and expose yourself to a whole bunch of content you don't like and don't agree with. Nobody's forcing you to sit and stare at the TV, or watch the news, or go on social media. That is all on you. If you do not like something or someone, then you don't have to give them your time. If you give someone your audience, then that essentially means you want to see more of it. With your attention, you are giving them an audience. If you don't want someone to have an audience, then don't give them your audience. Hopefully, I gave you a general idea as to why this is important and sparked your interest. Now, I'm going to give you some examples, some of which I ended up being part of myself. Let's start off with some attempts at restricting or outright controlling freedom of speech. Back in high school, in my last year, the principal decided to combat homophobia, which was admirable but silly considering that my high school didn't have any incidences, and neither have I heard of anyone bullying for that reason. We even had a club called, if I remember correctly, the Gay Straight Alliance, and all of this made even more laughable when they banned the word gay. Yes, he banned the word gay. You heard me right. And yes, that was pretty much the only thing he did in his initiative. Anyone who said the word gay would be suspended immediately. Take a minute to think about what happened next, and the result of this one seemingly tiny restriction. Pause this video, take a minute to think, and write in the comments below. So, here's what happened. Everyone substituted the word gay for the word homo. So instead of saying, "This is so gay," "Dude, what are you, gay?" "Dude, I'm gay." "Dude, what are you? You're gay, dude." Everyone started saying, "This is homo." "What are you, homo?" "I'm homo." "You're homo." We had students get suspended for saying gay, but not homo. At first, this was just hilarious, hysterical even, as to how absolutely stupid this was, how absolutely useless this was. Until we started getting reports of some students bullying other students using homosexuality as a pretext, whether the victim was homosexual or not. Then it stopped being funny very quickly. In an attempt to fight something that was never even a problem to begin with, the principal banned a word, a single word, and it had exactly the opposite effect. It didn't help anyone homosexual, it made things worse for everyone. Now think about how much bigger the effect would be if we were talking about a population of a country. Look no further than Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, and dozens of other countries. They don't just ban words, they ban books, music, all sorts of information. Take the Soviet Union as an example. See if you can find a list of all the literature that was banned alone. People wanted to read those materials. Couldn't get them in a library, so where did people go? The black market. Smugglers. I hope I don't have to explain as to why a growing black market and organized crime is a bad thing for society. I really truly hope I don't have to get into this. These were people in power, very corrupt people in control. They did not want to be challenged. They wanted to continue doing what they were doing and enjoy the power and authority they had, so they tried getting rid of anyone and anything that could pose a threat. And at the end, made things worse for themselves and the people. That is true in every case. Take a look as another example at YouTube. They outright banned anything to do with conspiracies in order to combat misinformation. So what will happen? We're going to see some major damage in virtually every aspect of life. Not only does it imply that all conspiracy theories are false, which is very much not true, a lot of conspiracy theories turn out to be exactly true. You can easily find plenty within 10 minutes of researching online. If you want to fight misinformation, propaganda, scams, conspiracy theories, lies and corruption, you need freedom of speech. You need to have all of it exposed so that the population can not only see that these things exist, that there are people who say these things, but so that we can criticize these people, how wrong these people are, show everybody exactly what they're all about, really, at the end of the day. This ultimately helps spread awareness and educate the population to make better decisions. All of it comes down to criticism and reporting. If those go around unchallenged in the public sphere, then how exactly are we supposed to stop them? They may be unpleasant to talk about, or even think about, or even acknowledge that these things actually exist, but hiding something under the rug only makes it worse, sometimes by magnitudes with irreversible consequences. Then there are attempts to outright silence the whole country. A mere mention of Tiananmen Square will get you jailed in China. In North Korea, you will never be seen again if you criticize anyone in power. Putin has been wreaking havoc with his propaganda machine, silencing journalists and getting rid of his political opponents. The list goes on and on. You may think, hold on, but what about here in the Western world? Well, I have to admit, things are looking grim. Not only do we have to contend with this hypersensitivity that's been on the rise, especially in the last decade, we have to tackle big tech corporations pushing and outright banning people off the platforms with no more reason than them not fitting into the political agenda that these big tech corporations are pushing. We have a very vocal minority that acts as a language and thought police online that goes unchecked. We have people in positions of authority and power who are not only corrupt, but do not represent us in any capacity. You can be sure as the sun rising from the east that these people want to keep their power. We have bills being frequently passed to either restrict or enforce what language we speak. Our schools are becoming safe spaces instead of challenging our minds, teaching us about the world and educating us. They restrict access to information, coddle and sometimes outright scam us. And we can't always know better. Sometimes we end up learning the hard way much too late. Instead of reporting stories and events that actually matter, that actually have impact, that the public must know about, we end up getting stories about some small, petty, utterly insignificant thing that happened to some celebrity or politician. We have so much fake information, misinterpretation, and out-of-context material circulating in such colossal amounts that even for the most savvy it can be hard to figure out what is true and what is false. As I mentioned before, I'm not the best person to speak about freedom of speech. I probably end up missing a few things or getting a couple things wrong, so I encourage you to do your own research. And please do as much as you can. There is a lot to this topic that branches out into so many aspects of our lives. It starts with personal responsibility. And then the more people join in and fight those who want to control our language, our thoughts, and our lives for their own benefit, the more effective we'll be as a force. I'm currently debating and researching what restrictions, if any, would be reasonable. We don't want people running around and shouting profanities in the middle of the day, and there is content that is inappropriate to show to various age groups. I might make another video about this later, but right now let's just focus on the entire idea of freedom of speech. As another example of what I was talking about when it comes down to governments trying to control freedom of speech, one of the best examples is what happened to Blitzchung some weeks ago. He was banned off a Hearthstone tournament by Blizzard for supporting the protests in Hong Kong. Now, on one hand, yes, Blizzard was very correct to punish him for bringing politics into this. On the other hand, the severe punishment that they dealt was completely disproportionate. It was way too severe. Now, what happened later, right after Blitzchung was banned, a lot of people started calling out Blizzard for pandering to the Chinese government. And you can do a lot more research on this yourself, because there is a lot of material that's been coming up about this specific topic. I just wanted to let you know, make you aware that this has happened, so that you can take a deeper look into this yourself. All right. Thank you very much. My name is Papatron, the concerned alien parent. I hope this video helped you get better understanding, get some perspective, or just entertained you. What are your thoughts on freedom of speech? Should there be any restrictions to it? Have you personally come across any breaches of the concept? Share in the comments below. If you like my video, leave a like, subscribe, and smash that bell. Till all are fun.